お願いします。I hope everyone's well. I will read number 20 of the Shokushu called Intoku. Just like the number 1 can never become 0, our words or actions never disappear once they are created. A good action causes a good result, a bad action causes a bad result. This always returns to ourselves. A good action means acting without expecting a return, or getting attention from people, or bringing happiness and success to ourselves and to our descendants. This is called Intoku in the Japanese language. The highest form of Intoku is to practice the way of the universe, leading others and supporting their practice in this principle. I had a student one time who wrote me and said that he had been hosting others, providing them with food and drink. And he was quite upset when he wrote me this letter because he said he didn't think they appreciated his hard work. And he didn't think that they gave him credit for what he had done for them, cooking the food, buying the wine, so forth and so on. So he wanted to know what I recommended. So I recommended to him that he should charge money for hosting people at his home. And he told me he thought I was crazy. You don't ever charge money for people to come and eat from your kitchen. I said, well, then it seems to me that that's exactly what you're doing. You're expecting a reward for hosting, for giving something out of the goodness of your heart to your friends. And in this case, your students. And even your teacher. He was complaining about. I don't know if he understood, but this is a principle that I want you to consider. Tonight, I promise you, we would talk about the benefits of this teaching, of Toi Sensei's teaching. And if we don't understand Intoku, maybe it's going to be difficult to obtain all of the benefits of Toi Sensei's teaching. Okay, let's do some key breathing, please. When Toi Sensei asked me to come to his home on one occasion in the late 90s, he asked me if I would bring the Hawaii people together to form a new school, Waikiki Federation. And would I please also teach on the mainland in the United States and in Europe. And he said, and by the way, don't just teach techniques, but teach what is behind the techniques. Teach the key principle that all the techniques arise from. And when he said key principle like that, he didn't mean like the 5 principles of meditation or the 5 principles of Ki Aikido or the 5 principles of Ki breathing, and those are wonderful, but that's not what he meant. When he says things, when he says like teach the principle behind, he means mind leads body. He means the experience of mind-body unification. You know, when I was a young man, I told you, this 3-year retreat to learn, well, you know, what I was missing, to meditate for 3 years. And I was a voracious reader from when I was a young man. I loved to read. And because it let me be by myself, and I liked being by myself a lot. And I liked, you know, the stories, and I just loved reading. I loved literature. And so I told my teacher right away, and he said, oh, but while you're here, you cannot read. 3 years of no reading. So that was kind of a shock. And he said, but you can read as long as you study the world religions. So please, while you're here for these 3 years, study all the world religions, and when we're done, you can tell me which one you want to do, if any. So at the end of the period, I said, I have no idea, because they're all teaching the same thing. Doesn't matter. And besides, they're mostly filled with cultural things that have no application today in any case. So he said, okay. And I went my way, and I moved to Maui, and I was missing the formality of the training. And I wrote him and I decided that I met this guy, Aitken, Robert Aitken Roshi, was quite a well-known Roshi who had I think Diamond Sangha, he called it. It was a Zen group. And I met him, and I was intrigued, and I wrote my teacher, and I said, so I want to do this. He said, yes, he's a very good teacher, but not for you. So sorry. So I'm not, well, I thought we decided it didn't matter, you know. Oh, yes, it matters. For you, it matters. You need to do a Zen-based martial art. I had no real idea what a Zen-based martial art was. It didn't occur to me that was Aikido. I'd had a little experience with Aikido in the theater in the years before in New York City, but it didn't occur to me. And I think most of you already know the story here is that I just searched around until I found out and was led to Suzuki Sensei, Shinichi Suzuki Sensei, and the Wailuku Aikido Club, it was called in those days. And Suzuki Sensei said to me, among the other things I've already told you, he scared me to death when I met him. He told me, whatever you do, stop shopping around. You decide if this is what you want, then you do this now, and you do only this, and you do it 100%. You go all the way deeply into this. So, you know, 20, 30 years later, like 30 some years later, when I was at Toi Sensei's house, and he was asking me to do this, and he was telling me what to teach. If Suzuki Sensei had not taught me that, I could not have understood what he meant. Do you know? Well, this is very difficult, because we all, as human beings, want a reward. And Keiko practice is where the rewards come in. Aikido is very, very valuable in this way. I mean, if anything, it probably saved most of our lives. Ki breathing is so healthy and good for us, right? And not just physically, not just in our, oxygenating the blood and getting rid of impurities, as Toi Sensei says, but it teaches us such deep sense of peace and quiet and calmness. And it's not that this is not available somewhere else. It is. It is. But nowhere else that I've ever heard of has what you call ki test. Toi Sensei invented the ki test. And when he was studying, Toi Sensei had basically three teachers. Ogura Sensei, who was the Misogi teacher, so he learned Misogi. And O Sensei, of course, who taught him Aikido and how to relax. And then Temple Nakamura Sensei, who taught him mind leads body, mind moves body, mind-body unification. And he taught him ki breathing, which he actually brought from India. At the time, Temple Nakamura had been training in India and came back, and Toi Sensei sought him out and asked his advice. He said, well, you need to learn to do ki breathing. So these things became an early part of Toi Sensei's teaching. I've said so many times, there's no original teaching. Anybody who claims they're teaching something original is missing the whole point. And if you're valuing something because you think it's original, you are missing the whole point. It's like, yes, Chris Curtis and Toby Vogels and Joel Pertz are unique and original, one of a kind. It's true. But that's not the significant part of us. This is how we chose to express ourselves in this lifetime. Maybe yes, but it's not the keiko. It's not the technique. It's not the form that counts, folks. It's not your smart philosophy. It's what's underneath everything. I told Toby Vogels the other day, even when you see the tree and it sparks something in you and you see something you've never seen before, that's still not it. That's just it peeking through to you. So all of this teaching, to benefit from this teaching, we always have to see at every moment that we're practicing, we have to see what's peeking through, what's underneath this. How did it arise in us, in you, today, at this moment? How is it arising? How is it informing you? Toi Sensei was very big on Aikido in the dojo, of course, but much bigger on Ki in Daily Life. The name of his book, Ki in Daily Life, was all about it, not so much the idea. Okay, so we have Keiko practice, and this is self-improvement practice, and it's something that is very important and very useful. And every every form of spiritual practice offers self-improvement. If it doesn't, you can't get started. You have to have a goal to practice towards. Otherwise, you won't stick around. But at the same time, at some point, you do have to realize that the goal is always up there in the future somewhere. So you have to transcend that. You have to move beyond Keiko at some point. Otherwise, you're just stuck in form, stuck in ideas, stuck in philosophy, stuck in conception, stuck in things that give you reward. And I said in the beginning with my little story about my friend, if we don't get that, if that's not what we're noticing in ourselves, which is our practice to notice, if that's not what our practice is, then there's not much chance are really benefiting in the highest way from this practice. You know, some teachers will tell you that theirs is the only way. And they usually offer as proof for that, that only through their teaching and them can you reach this highest level, the highest level of realization. But I want to suggest that if you hear that from someone, that's Keiko. Because highest is relative. Relative to what? He wants you to get better and better and better and better and better, and that's all fine. But that's not what Toi Sensei was teaching. Yes, he's teaching all that, but that's not what is really behind this practice and what the real benefit is. Now, I know when I say benefit, I'm talking like a reward, but it's not that kind of thing. It's not that kind of benefit. It's the benefit that happens in spite of us instead of because of us. In Keiko training, all the benefits apparently happen because of our efforts. There's a cause and effect apparently happening there. There's a risk reward. There's an effort and a return for that effort, as there should be. Like when you invest some money, you expect to get some return. This is the same kind of thing. So this is very straightforward, but you know, you've seen me written many, many times in the things I write about, like in my books. Real practice doesn't work that way. Real practice is resting in your one point, present and open, with no judgment and no requirement and no expectation. It doesn't mean that you have to accept everything that happens. Sometimes I say that, like the fourth principle of, we say, you have to show up, the four principles of practice. You have to show up, you have to open to whatever's happening. You have to follow it along without judgment, and then you have to accept the result without editing it. And that's fine. Those four principles I didn't make them up, they came from someone else. But like I said, there's nothing original anyway. But in this case, the longer I live, the more I feel that the fourth one is not quite getting it. Because when I accept without question, I always miss something. I'm not saying you should not accept it. I'm not saying reject anything. Please don't reject anything. But don't accept it either. Just be here for it. Just be here for it, whatever it is. And you know, what I'm talking about are not things that other people do. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. I'm talking about what happens inside you when somebody else does something. I'm talking about what arises in you when you're sitting in meditation, what arises in you when you're on the mat and you're training with another person. That's what we notice. And it's what that arises out of ultimately that we rest in. So Shugyo, when we practice in Shugyo, it's basically empty full. It's basically everything that happens, no matter what is happening, it's just happening. And you're just there for it. And you're fine with that. But we're not trying to alter any condition of any kind. We're not trying to get more pleasure. We're not trying to get less pleasure. We're not trying to get less pain. We're certainly not trying to get more pain, even though some people do that. The Buddha said that his teaching is only to put an end to suffering. Suffering is our reaction to pain coming and pleasure going. When we can't accept that, when we reject something, when we react in our own mind-body to the condition of pain or pleasure that's present in our life at this moment, and that's always happening. No matter how quiet and peaceful you are, there's a feeling that you're well aware of. And if it's peaceful, that's pleasure. If it's quiet and calm, that's pleasure, right? And so you're going to want to keep that. You're going to want to hang on to that. And you're going to want to repeat it tomorrow. That's not putting an end to suffering. That's not following the teaching of Toi Sensei. Toi Sensei says the purpose of our practice is to experience oneness with the universe. Non-separation. Okay, so that means everything, folks. That means whatever is you. Whatever is not separate from you. It doesn't mean that exclusively is you your small self, but it is you in a very mystical way, in a very mysterious way, in a way that is peeking through at every moment at you, right now. Okay, so I've kind of talked a long time here. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this. And I'd like to start with Olaf Schubert.
Thank you very much, Sensei.
Hello.
And hello. Yeah, benefiting the teaching.
Oh.
This current situation that we are in now for almost 2 months now. This really showed me that there are benefits of the teaching beyond what we normally think of benefits of the teaching. So noticing this quiet is completely opposite of what 10 years ago I would have reacted to this a similar situation. We didn't have any situations like this in the past with the reverberations that could happen. And in the beginning, I was really astonished how that did not upset me at all. So if this is not one of the benefits of our training, then I think this is the one. to be not brush it aside, but just be in it. And that's really
Can you see what I said though about the difference between this kind of benefit and the kind of benefit that you expect as a result of an action?
Yes.
This is a gift. This is grace, they call it. In Christianity, they call it grace. It's always present. not just when the coronavirus meant to stay home. I remember you 10 years ago. You know, I think I met you about that time or a little before that. Yeah. So it's always present. All this is always here. I keep saying, like, peeking out at you, at us, making the possibility or the offering. Yeah, it's almost like you know, Oz behind the curtain, but except there's no Oz, and there doesn't need to be. We don't need to name something. It's already everything. Well, you know, I'm sure you've noticed over the years, my experience of all this has changed considerably. But, you know, that was 20 some years ago when Toei Sensei said that to me. And so maybe I didn't quite get everything that he was implying, but I'll never forget it. And it's guided me. I mean, I was saying things like that to you when I came to Europe, to the European students, you know, 16, 17 years ago. And actually I came 20 years ago. I was saying things, already I probably told that story 1,000 times. You've heard it. Because that's so dear to me. It's so important. It was so important to him that he said, don't forget, this is what I want you to do when you go to teach in all these places I want you to teach. I don't want you to just go over there and show off. He considered people that appreciated techniques too much to be lacking in their understanding of his teaching. He said that to me often. He would say, yes, if a person is too much into techniques, probably he doesn't understand my key principle. And again, when he said key principle, he's talking about mind-body implication. He's talking about, not talking about some individual principle. Someone else? Do I need to call on someone? Thank you very much. I have my little clicker here. I was going to point and click. I don't think that's proper.
Hello, Sensei. Vernon Liu from Oahu.
Please. Hello.
It falls to a way of a mind that seeks truth, and while practicing, we get that feeling through the key test that that's a true practice.
Yes. And
the more we feel this practice, is our subconsciously drilling in our mind, the mind that seeks truth in our practice. And not only that's within ourselves, the mind that seeks truth.
okay, so can I say something about that?
Yes.
Remember, everything that all these sayings that we have, Kyudoshin is the Japanese word for the mind that seeks truth. Kyudoshin, yes?
Yes.
When we translate them into English, sometimes it alters the meaning. For instance, truth is a relative thing. It's a fact. It's something is the truth or something is not the truth. It's possible to seek the truth. An investigator needs to seek the truth. A police investigator. If he's investigating murder, he must seek the truth. That's important. In the relative world, when you're getting your PhD, you must seek the truth. Okay? When you're trying to learn a technique and how to move in the way the teacher is moving, you must seek the truth. But Toi Sensei is, when he says Kidoshin, he's saying seek true. Seek that which is true. When he says the purpose of our practice is to be one with the universe, we're not seeking to be one with the universe. We already are one with the universe. So it more means to realize or to experience or to awaken to the fact that you are one with the universe, that there is no separation, that wherever you look, that's the mirror universe, that's you. So our original condition is true, is to be true. It's impossible to be false if we're in Shugyo. Because there's no reward there. But in Keiko, it's very easy to be false because there might be a money involved, or approbation, or some credit due to us. That's the danger of Keiko. Is that's where manipulation and control and falsity, deceit come into the picture, because there's a reward possible. That's where thievery came from. That's where criminality arises, because there's a reward. You know, my teacher told me one time, it's possible for the whore of Babylon to become again the chaste virgin. That's you and me, my friend, not somebody else. He meant by that what Toi Sensei means when he says Kiroshin. We are open to seeking, awake to our original condition, which is the chaste virgin, which is innocence, no judgment, no doubt, because there can be no deceit when you're true and original.
Thank you for the clarification for that truth. Truth means a lot of deeper meaning behind that.
Yeah, I think so. That's, of course, that's my sort of response to everything. is that there's something behind whatever we think, whatever we feel, whatever we experience. Go deeper. There's something beneath it that can be revealed. Everything is revelatory. Every single moment is a moment of revelation that's available right here to you and me. But we think it's later or somewhere else or for somebody else, or this is not the important moment, that'll be the important moment. No. This is all there is. There is no other moment. It's only this. So, thank you, Vernon. Someone else.
Thank you, Sensei.
Hello, Mark.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Suzuki Sensei used to teach easy come, easy go. And when I was a very new student, that was very relieving to me, because he said, you can have it right now. To sustain it is the hard part. And that's never stopped. It all just keeps going and going and going. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Easy come, easy go. Yeah. So I can show you, I can show anybody how to keep on point. Today, first day they come in the dojo. You know that, you can have this experience. But of course, without me there, it's not going to be lasting for tomorrow. And so it's like when we get together and we have meditation class, that's the same thing happens. We can, if I'm here with you, you can have, not just me, but if the teacher is here, the experienced person is sitting with you, then you tend to have a deeper experience. That's why I'm suggesting to everyone that when they get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to breathe or sit, breathe and sit, if that's what you're doing, that you do it with me, that you do it with every person here, that you realize that physical presence ultimately is not, I can't say it's meaningless, but it's not, it doesn't offer what you think it does. It's already there, folks, because you are it. You already have that available. That is arising in you at every moment. We don't believe that, I know. We don't think that way. It's what causes us to seek out companionship. And again, this is Keiko and Shugyo. I mean, yes, companionship is wonderful. I really appreciate my companion in life, this life, my wife. I really appreciate companionship with you folks, okay? But I'm learning that it's not so much that we have to be in the same room together at the same time. In fact, that's not really the point. I mean, let's keep going to the dojo, please, and let's keep having seminars. But take note, notice this, practice this way, so that you have this experience too. Toby Vogels, speak to me. Hello.
Hello, Sensei.
So
Yeah.
you wanted to say something.
No, actually, I did not.
Oh,
I was just,
you did.
I was just thinking about the benefits of the training, because it often doesn't feel like there are any benefits. It's more like a burden sometimes to me, because of the judgment that I have in my mind.
Yeah.
So that was what went through my mind when we were talking about the benefits of our training.
Okay, let me just tell you. So maybe I told you this before, but when Toi Sensei asked me to be chief instructor of Hawaii, to assemble Hawaii, I was so stoked. I was proud that he asked me. I thought, wow, I must be something very special. You know, I didn't do that out loud to myself, or I would have embarrassed myself, and you know, but it was in there. And you know how I found out it was in there? Because I found myself in my bedroom on the edge of the bed one day, sitting there, really, really deeply disappointed that he had asked me to do this, when there was no way I was going to be able to fulfill it properly. I was in tears. You know, I was like Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane. Take this from me, oh Lord. Take this burden away from me. And that's what made it work. If you don't have that moment, I pity you, because you're fooling yourself. Where's your humility? This is good for you. This is progress. I like to hear about this. It's only the poor sucker that thinks there's pleasure in every moment. And you have to teach. So you wouldn't want to teach that, would you?
No.
You just have it. I know. Well, you're very fortunate. In fact, most all of us are very fortunate here in this way. We are so fortunate to have homes to live in and food to eat and beautiful families, you know, or even if we don't have big families, maybe someday we will, or you know, wherever you came from has allowed you to have the time and the inclination just to come and do this today with me. See, that 99% of the world is not here. And there are reasons for that. They're not here because they're all out trying to survive right now. How is it that we get to be here? Are you remembering that at every moment? Are you remembering to be grateful for that? Who else has what you have? You're just loaded with gifts. My daughter calls those first world complaints. Right, because in some sense it doesn't come up as a problem unless we have time for it to be a problem. You see? First world complaints. They don't complain about that particular thing in Syria, probably, or Yemen.
It makes me feel worse, Sensei. Thank you.
Well, it's good that you have a sense of humor, that's for sure. That'll probably save your ass one of these days, if not already. It's always so nice to see you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Aliona. Aliona, did you want to say something?
Hello, Sensei. Hello, everyone. Yes, when you were telling us, I think, oh, we always have expectations, and I never thought about benefits in this way. So I just like look at them at the first time. I never thought it. Like you explain what the benefit is.
Yeah.
So just, oh, because he always has expectation what it should be and look like. So, and this is.
And that's it.
Yes. And that's it.
Well, so, as I said, and as everyone knows, I'm always wanting to go behind the curtain, to go deeper into whatever it is that we're experiencing. And the habit is from sitting a lot. When you sit a lot for many, many years, watching things arise, well, when you learn to sit, to just rest in whatever is arising, then you're always, always, it's always coming more and more. and revealing more and more, as long as you have the attention to stay with it. If you don't have the attention, this cannot happen. That's why you want to do lots of sitting, because you're building your capacity. Your power of attention is becoming stronger and stronger. And if you really want to see what's behind whatever it is that's arising in your mind, a thought, a feeling, yeah, even like a history, a memory, or a foreboding. I mean, whatever it is that's arising, there's a reason for that. There's something behind it. There's something much deeper. And then, there's something behind that. Tracy Reisner in his class the other night told us about the 5 whys he says he likes to use in his beginning class. We asked them why you came to Aikido. And they say, oh, well, because I heard it was really great. Well, why do you want something really great? Oh, well, because I heard it, and it keeps going. And by 5 questions of why, maybe you get to it. But let me tell you that it's not 5, it's infinite. It just keeps going and going. But you will not be able to enjoy this as much if your power of attention is weak, because you'll become distracted. You won't stay with it. You won't stay in it. You all know that some days your attention is much better, and some days your attention is not so good. People say, oh, I was just busy thinking. And that too, excuse me, even though that will always happen to you, over time, it doesn't happen so much. So it's all about attention, which is really what Suzuki Sensei would have called awareness. It's just resting in awareness in the one point in the lower abdomen. All right, so that's the end of our class. Thank you very much for coming. And I will see you all Sunday morning. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.
Domo arigato.